right, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to Venture Lab's Female Founder Speaker Series. Thank you for joining us today. Hang on. All right, and we're chatting today with Yana Bebieva and Rocio Frej Vitalle. Yana is a postdoctoral fellow at Georgia Tech studying the fields of physical oceanography and the physics of wildfires. She is eager to help first responders and wildfire services reduce the impacts of wildfires on lives, properties, and the economy. Rocio has been deeply involved with the aerospace industry for over 2 decades and is the founder and CEO of Improving Aviation, LLC, and is an aerospace engineer. She is dedicated to developing aerospace technologies to improve environmental sustainability and to combat natural disasters. And these women have exceptional credentials. There's just a few down below to give a voice to their studies and what they're up to these days. So thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks, Leah. I appreciate it. Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Hefner. I'm a program director for Georgia Tech's Venture Lab and the co-creator of our Female Founders Program, an entrepreneurship program by women and for women. So we've got our 2 wonderful female founder alumnas with us today, Rocio and Yana, and we really thank you for being here. Yana is our climate scientist who received her PhD from Yale, and Rocio has an aerospace engineering degree from Embry-Riddle. So very excited for y'all to be here. You came into our fall 2021 Female Founders Program not knowing each other and having separate projects. So Yana, what were you working on at the time, and why did you apply to Female Founders?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting us to this fantastic series. I'm very happy to be here. I am a geophysical fluid dynamicist, broadly speaking, but I focus mainly on physical oceanography. And in my previous postdoc position, I worked on wildfires. So when I saw an announcement of this of that cohort in the fall 2021, I was mainly just interested to learn a new skill. I'm always trying to extend my knowledge, extend my approaches in doing scientific research, and I thought that that methodology that was taught, can be applied to many different fields. And I was coming to the program with an idea of developing something that is actually related to my physical oceanography field. As researchers, sometimes we apply for grants to do just pure basic research, but a part of that grant is an outreach program. So I was coming to Female Founders Program to develop this outreach part. And the ideas were to utilize physical oceanography knowledge and geophysical fluid dynamics experience to develop something for entertainment where kids can learn more about our broad oceans.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. Now that you say that, it's been a minute, but I remember that's what you came into the program with. Rocio, you found us from Florida. What motivated you to come into a program geared specifically towards female entrepreneurs?
Yeah, well, hi everyone, good afternoon. For me, it was also a learning process. I started a small business a year and a half ago. I was doing a lot of engineering services and doing consulting for government organizations. I was realizing what are the gaps and the issues within the aerospace industry and said, why don't I go and actually develop something and try to expand beyond engineering services? And I got in touch with Sarah Martin. She was the regional NSF I-Corps coordinator, I believe. And she pointed me here, and I thought it was a tremendous opportunity first to learn more. I have a very technical background, so anything that is learning about the business side of things and how to really launch an idea, that's always helpful. And then every time you join one of these programs, where you have, like in our case, 10, 20 females just empowering each other. I think that's super motivating. As a sole founder, it's very tough sometimes because you feel like lonely in some cases, that you're the only person. And when you have so many people that are so determined around you, it's just like, it gives you that fuel to keep going. So it was a very good experience.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons we wanted to begin this program, was to give folks a network, right? And introduce them to people who could come alongside them with their project. Very literally that turned out for y'all, but we're going to get to that in a second. But Yana, so when everybody comes into the program, we ask you to do, a brief explanation of what you're working on, or the solution that you want to try to develop, and the group of people for whom you want to develop that solution. So when you first heard Yana present her idea and the solution she wanted to develop for a group of people, what went through your mind?
That's the question for me about Rocio's project?
Yes.
Right. I clearly remember that day. And in fact, it's interesting that I still have a screenshot of that chat, the very first exchange of texts in chat of Babak's webinar. And when I heard Rocio's idea, and it was related to what we are up now, but it wasn't quite the project that we're working on. I immediately thought, oh my God, well, I can probably help, because it was in atmospheric science field. And just from my previous experience, I knew a few people who are doing small scale observations of turbulent mixing in the atmosphere. And I thought, oh, I can probably help. And so that was exact message that I sent to Rocio. Oh, hey, I can help you to connect with people. And I honestly didn't even think that it might evolve into something that we are doing now. That's the only thing that I had in mind, just be a resource for her.
Yeah, Rocio, what did you think when you got that message?
It was very exciting. It was very exciting to see someone who was also, she's a scientist, I'm not, but very technical, that had some ideas. And I remember that, so when she told me, I can help you, I can connect, she started getting into my interview process with other people. And she was very careful to say, here is one idea that we may develop. I don't know if it has some traction. This is also what I'm thinking about wildfires. But she didn't say it on the first day, it was very careful about slowly putting it into my mind. And then it just, I don't know, I think it has worked great. We bounced ideas of each other, and then starting on that day, we kind of just we could do this and that. And it was amazing. I think obviously there is so much valuable things that you can get out of these programs, but I would never imagine that this would have evolved into what it is today.
Many times with our fledgling founders, when they recognize someone in the program that they might see as competition, it can feel a little bit threatening, right? Perhaps you're too much in the same space. Will you step on each other's toes? And in fact, I've had founders drop out of programs before when they felt like they didn't want to share any of their secrets, right, with anybody else in the program. But you embraced your similarities, and you ultimately ended up joining forces. So Yana, talk us through how you and Rocio became co-founders in your endeavor.
Right. Well, as Rocio mentioned, I just started helping out and connecting with people from my graduate program and undergraduate program as well. They are now all over the world. So we reach out to people who are in Germany and Switzerland. We talked to quite a few folks here in the US who are researchers now at national labs even. And piece by piece, we just came to this idea that, oh, actually, we can a little bit move into different direction, which is the wildfires. And I never actually felt that we are competing, because Melissa, you mentioned that we have a lot of similarities, and that's true, but I do think that we complement each other very well, because Rocio has been in the business world for quite a bit, and I have zero experience with that. I've been in academic circles, so I think in that way we really complement each other, and we slightly, I think, have slightly different approach to interviews as well. So I just didn't see the competition from day one. And again, Rocio, with her business mind, she set up the process pretty well and straightforward. And when it's started being clear that we are now really developing something for wildfire field, we signed an NDA, non-disclosure between each other. And that actually helps because we also outlined what the expectations are in the long run, what the expectations are in the short run. And it was maybe at the very beginning a little, these conversations are not like super easy to have, but They were very important. And I think what was a really game changer is that Rocio hopped on the plane one day and she came up to Atlanta for just one day. So she flew in the morning and left in the evening. And we had a good chat. We brainstormed a lot what scientific approach we can use, because I'm still very passionate about my science and how it can be really applied into the field. So that's my take on this question.
Rocio, was there anything different on your end? Or you've got a business, and first of all, you're coming into a program where we're asking you to test all of the things you believe to be true about your customer and the project that you're working on, and then you have someone who's saying, "Hey, I can help you do this." What were your feelings about all of it?
Yeah, I think I have the advantage and disadvantage to be so small right now and so flexible that, I can go in different directions. We found out that the idea that I came in initially really didn't have traction today, maybe something for the future, but today didn't have a commercial application. So the fact that Yana had an idea to use that foundation for something else, it was perfect. It just made so much sense. As she says, we complement each other. There are skills that one has that the other one has not, and it just worked out. And I don't know, I think to diversify and find someone that has that eager and that ambition and also wants to do the right things, it's so hard. So that was like, I don't think one moment it slips through my mind other than I'm so lucky, this was awesome.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of self-awareness and bravery on your part, Rocio, to recognize that you needed to make changes to what you had been working on, right? The methodology asked you to explore, the ecosystem and the customer base and what value you really needed to provide and to whom, and you made changes, which is all we can ask of teams, and the successful teams are the ones that do that. Right? Recognize what the market is asking for and move in that direction instead of trying to push your innovation into the market.
I remember the first day we came into the program, you all had a chart where it said the starting point, end point is not a straight line, and it was like a scribble. And I think that's the perfect way to represent it. I was leading a R&D lab at a large company before I started my own business. And I used to tell everybody, you have to have 100 ideas for one to succeed. But if you don't have those 100s and don't have those conversations about those ideas, the idea that succeed is never gonna come to you. So this is the perfect process to do it, and it's the perfect environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important that we share honestly our origin stories and what our path has been like, for folks to know that it is not linear, and the first idea is not always the perfect idea, right? There might be 100 ideas in between. So I know that in December, so we continued our mentoring together after the Female Founders Program ended, and you became a part of the NSF I-Corps Sites program, which provided you some funding to do some traveling through your customer discovery. And so in December, you attended the National Disaster Resilience Conference in Florida. really as a way to engage face-to-face with potential customers and learn more about this ecosystem surrounding wildfires. It was that sort of the entirety of what you wanted to explore, wildfires. So Rocio, tell us a little bit about the technology the two of you were thinking or are thinking about bringing to the market, what you wanted to learn at the trade show, and then what you walked away from. So a little bit about technology, and then what were you hoping to learn, and then what did you actually learn?
Right. So we are trying to assess ember spread. Ember is when, I'll try to explain this, Yana is the expert on embers and wildfire, but so when the ashes are picked up from the floor, they are lifted and they are sent or spread by the wind in different sections. And that's why sometimes you hear about fires in California and then a house burning 10 kilometers away from where the fire is. So we said, how can we predict that? So we are using unmanned vehicles, or more commonly drones, to take wind measurements using the state variables of the aircraft without having to have wind sensors, because those are expensive, don't really deal well with these harsh environments. So we use drones, derive the wind conditions, and then developing an stochastic ember model spread. We try to look at what are the risk areas where the embers are going to be igniting or have a higher probability of igniting. So we went into the conference.
That's a very great, for those of us who are lay people and don't all understand about fire embers either, you did a great job of explaining that. We're with you.
Good. This is a very good practice too for pitches.
Yeah. To put it in language that's accessible to all folks.
Exactly. So we went to the conference. First of all, it was part of our lean methodology, lean startup methodology. Let's see if there is a market. Let's see who is interested, and let's try to validate our customer segments. And funny enough, we had a customer segment that was government, emergency managers, Cal Fire. We were talking to Colorado Department, State Department, and things like that. And then we found out that insurance are very interested on it, because there is this one large company that is the only one providing wildfire fighting services for insurance companies. They have the access to the market. They have, it's very hard for a private wildfire fighter to get into the field. So this company has managed to do so because they've been on the field forever. So let me stop you for a second. So these insurance companies will actually hire their own sets of firefighters to go in and try to mitigate some kind of property loss on behalf of the insurance agency. Fascinating. Okay. Yeah, they go to the houses that they think are going to be in danger. So they're like, well, if you can develop this, we're definitely interested. So the conference gave us a very good contact with these people. We even are looking at going up to Montana, which is where they're located. And it validated our approach. It also told us that going to government is going to be much harder, and that maybe going to insurance companies or provider of insurance companies, it's at least an easier entry to the market. And then we found out one customer segment that we're still exploring, but it was super exciting. And that was TV broadcasters. They're really interested in being able to get images and video from our
our Fox News and our ABC and
CNN,
NBC News and CNN. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and finding where the fire when you have a hurricane, it is the first place. I'm in Florida. We have hurricanes all the time. It's the first place you go check. So they actually have their own predictive models for where the hurricane is going to spread. So they're very interested to have something like that for fires. So we actually ended up getting another customer segment. So it was very useful. The more people we talk to, the more we shift gears and find different avenues. But it was such a good experience.
Right.
Yeah, I love all of that. Oh, Rocio, sorry, Yana, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing that was absolutely a discovery for me, is that how this company operates is not really based on research. So for me, it was very eye-opening that the research community is completely different from the industry community. And I was shocked, and my first thought, like, oh my God, well, we need to bring research and well, help this company who mitigates the fires on local scale, and well, that way we can save lives, we can save property and economy. So that was a discovery for me, being in academia for over last 15 years.
Right. That they weren't using the research you would have anticipated they were.
Exactly. Yeah. And there is a challenge just because the research projects that are at the universities, they're not operational. So now we are trying to figure out how to make our models operational.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I love all of that. I love how much you took. I remember talking to you after you came back from the conference in Florida, and just how you had such an excitement in your voice and smile on your faces because of everything that you had learned. And you didn't walk away dejected that your initial assumptions were perhaps not the way you were going to go. Instead, you embraced the fact that you learned of different opportunities, right? Things you hadn't even thought of yet. Hey, Yana, if you had to estimate at this point, how many people would you say you've talked to? How many customer discovery interviews have you done since joining Female Founders?
Sure. Well, even during the conference, which was only 2 days, we talked to a lot of people, but we were very proactive. Like, we really pushed each other because neither of us were very comfortable to going to a stranger and saying, "Hey, how do you battle wildfires?" and like, how does insurance industry do that? So just those days, we talked, I would say, 20 people altogether. And then before, and of course, this is all a weekend project for us, right? So, I just didn't have, neither of us have.
Yeah, you have real jobs too.
Exactly. So, but I think overall, it was roughly 35 people that we talked with. Rocio, what would be your estimate?
Yeah, for wildfires, it was 35. I think we probably have another 20 when we had the previous idea that was just the wind sensing for aerospace applications that Yana was helping me out.
Yeah, so your interviewing sort of had to start over when you switched tracks.
Yep.
Okay. So Yana, what do you see as what's coming next for this project? You've done a lot since fall 2021. What's on your schedule for this spring and summer moving into next fall?
Well, if we're serious about developing the technology, it looks like we have all the pieces now, but to put them together, we certainly need funding. And we are in the process of applying for several grants. And we are collaborating with professors at Georgia Tech and Florida State University who have experience in wildfire modeling, but again, on academic sort of side, right? So we are trying to figure out how to make all those operational. And then, well, the next step would be just proof of concept. So buying a drone and flying around fires, whether those are prescribed fires that are common in Florida or some real ones, if we can get access to those sites through the company that we met in Florida during the conference.
Yeah, you raise a really good point about how do you test your MVP, right? Maybe you don't have to wait around for, God forbid, the next great California or Colorado wildfire to break out, but finding places where there are planned burns. That's really smart. I like you thinking about how do we do this with the opportunities that are available to us, the known opportunities that are available to us. Yeah, that's really smart. So Rocio, when you think about the next couple of months, what do you get really excited about?
Going to a prescribed fire and flying. Yeah.
Okay.
I think, like Yana said, we have all the pieces together, and it's a matter of kind of putting what she has developed, what I have developed. She takes care more of the wildfire science kind of things, and I take it more of the UAVs. Instrumenting the UAV and working with Henry Riddle on that. So just kind of like seeing all that come together and get that proof of concept MVP tested on a prescribed fire.
Okay, I can't wait too, and to see what results you get and what you learn and what things look like in a year, right? So final question for you today. I know we have a number of folks on the call that if I had to guess, are thinking about entrepreneurship and thinking about commercializing an idea they have or research that they're working on. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to female entrepreneurs who are just starting out?
Okay. To me, like we talked about, you have to be flexible. It's all about learning and knowing that what's on your mind today is not going to be the final product. And if it is, it's your Einstein. It, at least for the 99.99% of people, it's not going to be that. It's going to be a roller coaster. Some days you, like the day we came back from the conference, you're up here, but then some days it's a very low point. So it's all about staying there, knowing that it's all a learning process and we'll get there, and just celebrating the small victories. I'm all for that. It's all a journey. So being able to enjoy those those little victories, and knowing that nothing is the final product. Not even the largest companies have anything that they don't evolve. So just keep going. Know it's a roller coaster. Empower each other, because that makes a huge difference, and just best of luck. It's worth it.
Yeah, I love that. I think you make a great point. Even the most successful companies are continuing to listen. The reason they're successful, they're continuing to listen to their customers and understand the market and determine what they need to bring next to continue to provide value. Rocio, have you found, does your relationship with Yana work yet, that when she's having a high or when you're having a low, she's able to pull you up a little bit, or you balance each other? Are you at that point yet?
So we've had a couple of those where we had some findings last week that was, and just, you know, we have to be one is optimistic. Then we also had the highs and lows where I'm swamped with work with other customers, and then someone can pick it up. And I think that's very important to have a co-founder that I don't have on my company now, because you can also get that, split those tasks. And when someone is like, I can't do this anymore, I've gone off and tell Yana, I'm going to Puerto Rico for 4 days. I don't want to know anything. I'm sick of working on it. And I come back and then I'm re-energized because he's been going at it, and the other way around, you know? So I think it really works.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yana, what about you? What advice do you give to our women who are considering entrepreneurship or have considered it in the past and have gotten frustrated? You know, what do you have to say to them?
Well, I am very new myself to all this. It does remind me, although a PhD journey, right? So
sure, yes.
It's similar. You have a goal and then you go just around until you reach it. Just keep trying and have a support system, whether it's family, partner, friends, and just believe that it's going to be okay.
But I'm right.
I'm still learning how to handle different situations in this realm, not academic, but that. But just keep trying.
Yeah, and it is going to be okay, whatever happens, right? I'm seeing a question come in our last couple minutes. Annie's asking, she's saying, curious, would you collect data on smaller fires in the meantime, house, industrial fires, et cetera, to then extrapolate that information to the larger forest fire as it relates to your predictive modeling? Is that something that would help you as you continue?
Yeah, so, well, different fires are different, right? The small ones, the prescribed ones are, they have just different physics than the larger fires. And yeah, of course, it would help just to test out the system. This is the Lagrangian system that takes the winds that we are using later on in the models. For testing, absolutely. And that's why we're thinking to go into prescribed fires, at least for in the short future. But yeah, for the large fires, they're completely different. The winds are much stronger than the prescribed burns. In the prescribed burns, it would be, I don't know, like 10 meters per second, even less. But in larger fires, those are like hurricane type winds, and we need to make sure that our system can withstand that wind. So lots of testing is ahead, but we are very optimistic. And if we show that system works, is going to be a huge breakthrough in the academic world as well, because these are the first observations, that would be the first observations along the fire front. And we already got excited, many academic collaborators. So yeah, we're looking forward to test it first.
All right, thank you for that, Yana. Rocio and Yana, thank you so much for being with us today, sharing your time, sharing your story, and being so open about the journey you've been on and the struggles that you've had, but also the highs, right? Because you haven't quit. You've gotten to experience the high points as well. So we really appreciate it. We can't wait to talk to you down the road and hear how things are going. So thank you again, and best of luck with everything. You have the support of Venture Lab behind you.
Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.